Calling Down the Sun, Sun Sign Astrology, created, directed, and presented by Reverend Dr. Dikki Jo Mullen. On the cover of this slide, Dr. Mullen shares one of the images she painted of a sunflower, which also can be construed as the sun as it throws out its warm flames around the core. In this video, Dr. Mullen will look at sun sign as it affects the natal chart and the progress charts of people with whom she works.
This is astrologer and parapsychologist Reverend Dr. Dikki Jo Mullen, coming to you from downtown Orlando, Florida, the Sunshine State, with thoughts about the sun, the source of all life on the planet. We have many metaphysical circles that talk about honoring the moon, drumming to the full moon, drawing down the moon, and there's a theory that the moon was the very first calendar, the phases of the moon that people ever used, but it reflects the light of the sun. And how about the idea of drawing down the sun? This thought came to me when I was painting, the painting behind you of a sunflower, which is unique in that it follows the light, or follows the sun. Still and silent, potent and alive, the presence of Sulis, Apollo, Sekhmet, Brigitte, Zuna, Yi, Ra, Helios. These are just some of the bringers of the light in mythology. Engulfing us each new day is the sun. Rebirth and renewal, calling seeds from the dark soil in the springtime, flames of inspiration, seeing the radiance burning within us, defined by the darkness, we waver in unapologetic victory in reaching up to the sun. Its cleansing fire is antiseptic. It burns away the winter and the old, filling us with gold, destroying chaos. All of the earth reaches for the energy of our nearest star. Those are some ideas that came to me in the thought of drawing down the sun. Its beautiful face spins with sunlight and fills our hearts with joy. Early in the springtime, we had a warm spell here in Orlando, and I was thrilled with looking at all of the flowers that were coming out, and I thought about the Bach flower remedies. In 1930, an alternative physician by the name of Edward Bach came up with the idea of putting out water in the sunlight and filling the water jugs with flowers and letting the water absorb the essence of the different flowers, and then adding a little bit of alcohol, maybe a few drops of vodka or rubbing alcohol to prevent any types of bacteria from growing, and bottling the water. And Bach flower remedies and other flower essences, all blessed by the sun, are subtle. They might not be for everybody, but they can be very powerful and very effective. And then there is sun tea. When I first came to Florida, I was fascinated because so many friends had huge gallon jugs of water with tea bags in them out on the back porch, saying that the sunlight made the best tea. And I thought, well, now, isn't that interesting? Because that sun-charged water, it's like a type of holy water. So think about sun tea. Focusing on the idea of the sunlight and the personification of that spark that ignites the new day, cleansing away the old. There's a radiance that pushes back the chaos of darkness, which is just the absence of light. And in many myths, the sun is pursued across the sky by some kind of a sinister demon. The rays of the sun were sometimes seen as dagger-like weapons. Eclipses, when the sun disappears or the moon disappears, used to be, long ago, thought to be the work of a sinister dragon that would be eating up the luminary and then regurgitating it or whatever again to let the light return. Kind of an interesting thought. In old Lithuania, a part of Poland, a demon named Tyknus was attached to the sun chariot each day, and in Korea, The sun and the moon were seen as two children who climbed a ladder into the sky to become the heavenly twins. The Maindu Indian natives and Ainus of Japan have other myths that we're all of us are descended from a sun goddess, and chariots and boats are seen to sail across the sky in connection to a circle or wheel, always identified with the sun. In the Celtic cross, there's a circle drawn at this joint of the crucifix to represent this idea of sunlight, S-O-N, S-U-N, the heavenly sun. Powerful talismans are linked to the sun. In the Baltic countries, the sun was often seen as a creature who wore a belt and hung upside down in a tree at night to rest. Shinto and Egyptian myths, there was a necklace talisman that had a circle. Looking at the different sun gods, the numbers 1 and 7 are prominent. There's 7 chakras in the body, and the chakras are wheels that correspond to the glandular system. They're called the interior sun wheels. And the Buddhists have a sun goddess, Marisi, who rode the sky in a chariot drawn by 7 sows, and would call in at dawn by having her mantra chanted 7 times to bring the sunrise about. The Cherokee Native Americans had a sun goddess who went too close to the earth and to warm her hands and had to be moved 7 hand lengths further out into space. And there was also a daughter that came from this goddess who was shot by 7 rods. There is the dagger-like idea of sunbeams coming about to draw her back from the land of the dead. Among the Australian Aborigines, torches honor the sun. They're carried through the night to search for the lost light, which comes up at sunrise. In Siberia, the sun was carried by a celestial elk, nightly pursued by a great bear. Hibernating bears, representing hiding from the sun, suggest again the Native American tie to a divine sun. In the northwestern part of the United States, near Washington State, in our present geography, the Haida Indians had the sun stolen by various ravens and frogs, cows, pigs, and snakes. However, the horse is a benevolent animal in the sun technology. It represents the return of the sun and is the brightest of the solar animals. The goddess Freya would drive across the sun the sky in a chariot drawn by white cats to draw back the sun, usually 7 of them in the Scandinavian countries, and swans gliding in golden boats, usually in groups of 7, would guide the sun back after the night into the dawn of a new day. In Japan, the rising sun has never been really denied as a type of worship. The sun on the flag, the red circle of Japan, reminds us that there's an evolution of patriotism, and the ancestor of our ancestors is the sun, again the source of all life. Solar herbs to make sun tea or sun water, aside from black tea or table tea, can include angelica, which represents protection and visions, the bay leaf, which represents clairvoyance, cedar, which is good for exorcism if there's a fear of evil energy, and sandalwood, which is wish fulfillment. Some of these can be used as an incense along with the herbs steeped in the water to create a spiritual sun experience and draw down and be affected by in a positive way the energy of the sun. The sunflower is the emblem of the spiritualist religion, and it represents true spiritual wealth in the way it follows the sun. Oranges, which represent the sun, are linked to the solar energy. Adding oranges, cloves, and cinnamon. Cloves and cinnamon are spices related to the sun. To the tea can help in drawing the energy of the sun to heal us. Sunlight and warmth have been known to heal all sorts of ills of the mind and body. Cinnamon is also a natural antibiotic. Crystals and gems which relate to the sun include amber. Amber is actually fossilized tree resin, and it's thought to be the tears of the sun in the Caribbean islands. Sometimes the fossilized tree resin washes up through the water and appears on beaches. In the Baltic countries, amber is also a popular tourist crystal or item to bring back. It represents the cooling of anger, and again represents the tears shed by the sun god or the sun goddess whenever there's pain or suffering. Citrine or yellow quartz, which represents mental clarity, is another sunstone. Also there's gold, which represents wealth and power. It's the metal in alchemy that represents the healing power of sunlight. A sunstone made of feldspar with quartz, it's a creative stone, will boost energy and help to cope with anyone who's draining our energy. Any stones with the word eye in them, tiger's eye is a well-known one that represents winning in conflict, relates to the sun, because the sun, the eye in the sky, represents vision, and we need light in order to see. Turquoise, which is from the blue sky of the desert southwest cosmology in Mexico and places further south and north, will represent a protection from the tombs of the dead and a safe shamanic journey across the bright blue sky into the light. This is astrologer Dikki Jo Mullen with some thoughts about how to draw down and relate to the sun. So when you're doing a moon circle meditation, drawing down the moon, or at a drum circle, remember also that the light of the moon is reflected from the sun, our star, our source of life, center of our solar system. Think of it as alive. Many pictures of the sun will have a face, a benevolent face drawn on it. Why? We're discovering so many things about outer space, how vast space is, and all of the different influences that are part of our world. Drawing down and relating to the sun is a way to think of taking the next step further to widen one's world.